Rob, we were talking about kind of how he took his billings to another level. And I remember when you started, one of the things, yeah, you wanted to work on your desk a little, but you had some issues on scaling the whole business.
Yes. Yes.
So why don't you kind of, instead of me giving that, kind of, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Backstory is COVID, a whole bunch of other stuff. I started this business 22 years ago. We've been at this a while. I've loved the business, hated the business, loved the business, hated the business, the proverbial cycle. And we've always hovered in that, high 6-figure, low 7-figure income or revenues every year. So I've always been kind of comfortable. But then when COVID, I couldn't stop. I couldn't go see my customers anymore. I couldn't see my employees in the field. And boy, I was bored as hell. And I was actually pondering the notion of retirement. But at the same time, I was also extremely uncomfortable with being comfortable. It was driving me absolutely cuckoo. And Mike, during that time in November, October, we were talking, and you said something about, Rob, it sounds like you're drifting in the water without oars. and I was. And so while I was going through that whole angst bit, I also decided to take some time off, blocked a couple hours off to read Think and Grow Rich, which is a book I always refer back to when I'm in that mindset of kind of stuck and not know where to go. And the chapter about what masterminds come up. And right at that same time, I was talking to you guys. I thought, oh my God, this is exactly what I need. I need somebody from the outside to kind of kick me in the ass, help me reset my vision, personal and business and otherwise, and then hold me accountable for meeting my goals. And it kind of gave me a framework and structure to get my business back on track. Again, I was really thinking about walking away and retiring or selling it. But I knew I hadn't quite achieved the goals I wanted to yet, but I was also uncomfortable in knowing where to go to meet these goals. So anyhow, I had no intent when I joined True, which was back in December. I had zero intentions of building my recruiting team back. I had decided it was a waste of my time. It was a waste of money. It created more problems than value. And I was never going to waste my time or money again. In fact, my wife literally had threatened me with divorce if I ever decided to hire another recruiter again, because she knew how frustrated I was and how stressed out I was. And then she didn't want to see me go through that again. But then shortly after joining True, I started in the Ignite program. I was going through Fast Start, and some things were said in that Fast Start program that really just made me realize that the recruiters weren't the issue in scaling the business. It was really, I was staring at the issue every morning in the mirror. The problem was I was never really trained properly how to train my recruiters or hold them accountable. And I had no idea where to go for that kind of training. So I then switched up to Ignite or Platinum and went through the February mindset or mastermind group for how to attract, retain, and hire and train recruiters. And it was just a whole mind shift that I'd never seen before, because again, I realized it wasn't the recruiter's fault. I wasn't giving them the tools and holding them accountable. And again, I was letting them drift. And it just changed my whole mindset, along with a whole bunch of other belief systems. So it's really, I hired my new another recruiter just a month ago. We started.
You're still married?
I'm still married.
Good. Okay, I want to check in on that.
I don't think I ever told my wife I hired a recruiter yet.
Virtual world. You get away with it virtually.
Yeah, exactly. Ask for permission, or ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Beautiful.
Right. So no, she knows about it, and but I had her involved in the interview process, so she took ownership and all that stuff, and we hired a marvelous young lady. The other thing I did through this coaching was learning that don't hire a recruiter that already had experience in the industry. Hire somebody fresh, either fresh out of college, and so you don't have to unteach them the bad habits. Then also that was mind-blowing in this mastermind group was setting the expectations for what their job is going to be during the first interview. So right during the first interview, it's like, this is what you're going to be doing. This isn't HR recruiting. You're going to be making calls. This is a sales position. And we started that in the first, third, second, and third interview. And it just helped to set the expectation. So when she came in, she knew what she was going to be looking at. Plus, I created a position statement for her that she read and signed off on before she even accepted the offer about what her expectations would be. So we've made some major mind shifts here, and I'm
So let me,
basically, oh,
I want you to go a little deeper on something, because this is where, because you're absolutely right. And I was, for 10 years, I was horrible at hiring. And I gave up on it. And I was like, I'm just going to be a big billing solo operator. And because hiring, just like you said, for me, just like for you, Rob, expensive, time consuming, and the value profit equation wasn't there, right? And I thought that was a brilliant way you said it. The accountability, just talk a little bit more about what that looks like, so people make it a little bit more tangible, which allows them to get off to a quick start, and whether you can kind of tell early if they're going to make it or not.
yeah, it's really, again, I never set the numbers for number of calls, not calls, contacts you need to make. It was just kind of like, okay, go get them, Tiger. We need to fill this role. We got to make some placements and then I just let them flounder. Then they keep coming back, say, well, nobody wants to take this job because of this, that, and the other thing. So like, how many calls did you make? Oh, 3, 4. Nobody called me back. Well, how many times did you call them? Once. So now it's okay. You need to make 12 recruiting presentations per day. We just literally sat down on Monday and talked about the 7X rule, which we talked about in Boston.
Share that with people. Just
Well, it makes sense. It's common sense. We're inundated with tons of information, news media, phone calls, spam, voicemail. The point is that nobody pays attention to you typically until you've had 7 touches with them, whether it be email, phone call, text messaging, but it's repetitive messaging with the candidate over the course of a week before they'll respond to you. Maybe they won't respond to you, but it's always on the 6th or 7th call where you're going to get a good chunk of the people that'll either call you back at that point to tell you to shut up, or they'll take your call and figure out, this guy must be insane. Let me talk to him.
And has this been your experience? The ones you get on attempt 5, 6, and 7 aren't calling back the other recruiters who have given up on after 2 or 3.
Correct.
And they're a better candidate.
Correct. They've already got kind of a loyalty built into you to some extent. As crazy as that may sound, they may never met you, may never talked to you, but boy, this guy's persistent. He must really like me for some reason. And of course, it's all about the messaging too. What you're saying in the message to this individual, that's really key. It's got to be about them, not about you. It's not about, hey, I got a job for you. It has to be about, hey, just want to see if you'd be open to the idea of maybe talking about a position that's currently stronger than your current situation. It's more of a, and again, it all goes back to, we always talk to Mike about prescription without diagnosis. The problem is recruiter malpractice. So it's always.
So say that again slowly. I want everyone to hear it. We haven't said it yet. We're going to say it tomorrow, but repetition's the mother of learning. I'm glad it's locked into you. Say that again slowly. It's a phenomenal concept.
Yeah, this is powerful. Prescription without diagnosis of the problem is recruiter malpractice. It's equivalent to walking into a doctor's office and saying, I have a bellyache. And the doctor says, we better do open heart surgery on you.
Don't you want to do like a EKG?
No. It's about me.
No.
It's about me. It's about me. I want to just do open heart surgery.
And that applies right on the candidate and the client side, meaning we're not going in telling them what we have. We're going in finding out what the problem is. Why does somebody maybe want to leave? Why does the company want to fill this? What are the consequences for the business remaining open? Diagnostics. So the word probably internally here, people become familiar with, but if you're coming to a training and you haven't been a client, that's what we call it, diagnostics. And I got that line from Rob Mosley. In any sales environment, prescription without diagnosis is sales, or in Rob's word, in our world, recruiting malpractice.
Yes. Yep.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. That's fine. You're running the show here, Mike. Now, Kathleen would disagree with that. I saw her beat your ass in Boston. That was phenomenal.
because Kathleen is running the show. Um, um,
Hi, Kathleen.
Doing
All right,
great,
so-
Rob.
You're doing fantastic. So from the next other ideas on one, I loved your concept. You went from, because we have a lot of people, I think there's a lot of people here, a lot of people that have been in the business 5, 10, 15 years, had an ambition to hire, hired, experienced what you experienced. I experienced that myself in the first 10 years. And it's like, this is just too hard. Hire 10 to keep one, which you don't in the model we teach. What other ideas on scalability have you picked up and implemented? And give some ideas on how they can too, on how people listening can too.
Greg touched on this, and that was the concept of obviously hiring, outsourcing your research. Instead of me sitting here all day long, a recruiter sitting here all day long, putzing around on LinkedIn, we hired Legacy Group, which is one of the preferred vendors or vendors for True. So we hooked up with Legacy Group, and they're now starting to do our research for us. And that's a science and art in itself. But I was again reluctant to do that, and because I thought, oh God, it's more money. But then again, I looked at it. It's not an expense. That is a true investment with I know we'll get a good return on our investment. So that was one of the things about scalability. And again, it's just then going to Boston. Maybe I'm jumping ahead of your questions here, but the scalability comes down to systematizing your business, scripting the dialogues with the candidates, setting expectations. But it's all about creating a system where you can get your business to a point where it can run without you.
Perfect. Because when you have the same process here, I'll just go a little deeper on what Rob's talking about. We kind of taught, when you get a search, it shouldn't be random. Rob shouldn't have his own process. Greg shouldn't have his own process. Kathleen shouldn't have her own process. Mike shouldn't have. We're a business. This is my recruiting from Hudson Consulting. Here's what step one, when you take a search, here's what you do. Step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. And then that way it's scalable, because I can walk over to Rob's desk. If he's on step 4, I know where he's been and I know where he's going. And based on where he's at in the search, I can ask the right questions versus everything. Greg likes to do all his work on a yellow legal pad. Well, you couldn't do that. You can't do that in a business. Like if you work for IBM or Cisco and you were a salesperson, can you keep all your prospect notes on a yellow legal pad and keep your job? No. But because I hear from owners, well, I've got a big biller and he or she likes to fill in, do this with the legal pads. And I said, okay, well then get her help to get that into your system, invest in her because she's a big biller. But we're going to systematize this. We're going to make this so it's easier going forward. So again, thank you. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Everything, and that was the flawless execution part of that Venn diagram we talked about yesterday in the training. Any other things I left out about I love your ideas on scale, your thinking on it, and then sharing, especially like those things, those concepts. Anything else that you had that I didn't ask about?
No, not that I can think of, Mike. Again, this has been a tremendous experience. I've digressed slightly here, but I have used other coaching firms in the past, but they weren't specific to the recruiting industry. The other coach I had for a number of years, great people, but the industry, it was industry agnostic. Everything from construction companies to publishing, whatever. But they didn't know our lingo. They didn't know how psychotic we are, and understanding what it takes to, the metrics so with this, not only are we getting a strategic point of view about how to scale our business, but also you're providing us the tactical ability as well. And that's what's been helping me a lot. Again, I learned really quickly, even though I've been doing this 22 years, I realized how little I know until I've joined you guys, and it's a learning curve in a fresh way every day.
Well, I appreciate you saying all that. I mean, and I appreciate you as a person. I mean, you're a big, fun personality, and the icing on the cake was booger. The icing on the cake was booger. Man, it seriously, like, I'm easily amused. It made my day. It did. It made my
I'll have
day.
to watch the movie because I haven't watched it.
I'm not going to say you should. I'm not going to should on you.
I know you kind of should.
I'm telling you though, getting to know you as a person, you'll be like, I wish that I watched this sooner. I watched this sooner. Thanks you so much. I appreciate it. You can, again, feel free to hang out for the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.